Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome. You are in the right place if you want to know what to do with the rest of the class while you're working with a small group for reading instruction or for guided reading. Do your kids sometimes distract you? Do they goof off? Do they not do their work? Do they gaze outside? Do they pester their neighbor? Why are they doing that? Well, there's a host of reasons, and what are the solutions? You're in week 3 of our series, What to Do with the Rest of the Class, and tonight we are moving forward into talking specifics about some activities, some fun things that we can do that don't take us hours and hours of prep year after year or day after day or week after week, and also are very instructionally apt. So we meet kids' needs where they are. One group might be doing one activity and another group may be doing a different activity, but they're very similar and the prep is very easy and similar, so their needs are being met. So let me see a hands up or a thumb, a like, if you have been here before and you know what we were talking about in the last couple weeks. I see Madeline's here. Awesome. We're glad you're here. Who else is here? Say hi. And let me just review what we talked about week 1. Week 1, we said, you know what? Kids aren't widgets. We can't expect to move everybody along like an assembly line. Everyone the same way, getting the same instruction. When everyone gets the same instruction, what happens? Some kids are bored, some kids are frustrated, and that's when they goof off. So we said that the fundamental principle about getting your kids to be engaged while you're working with guided reading or small group reading instruction is to make sure that you're differentiating, getting one group to work at their level, another group to work at their level, and then your odds of them being engaged and happy, focused, and not distracting you go way up. So that's the foundational principle on which everything that we're talking about in this series is laid. Okay, Joe, thank you. You're eager to learn. I love it. All right. The second week we talked about, what did we talk about? After that foundation was laid, we needed to know how to group kids. So we talked about grouping them based on a few key metrics, a few key measures that I recommend. These are different than standard practice, but they group kids in a way that tells you what their needs are and then is easy to plan for instruction. So if you didn't see that, check the link above to get back to week 2 and figure out what are those measures that we can use to quickly group kids so that we can actually meet their needs. And welcome, Jill. We're so glad you're here. So we're moving into week 3, and we're going to be talking about how to get kids doing the same center but with different levels. So I want to know, are you doing centers? How many are you using? Or workstations, whatever you call them. Do you have 4 going on a day or 5 or 6? I'd love to know. I think a lot of teachers do, 4 or 5, but what's your number, guys? Okay, let me hear from you, please. Love to know how many literacy centers or workstations or whatever you call them you are using. Okay, give me a number. And then I'll move into talking about how this is all going to work. How can you create one activity that everybody can do, but at their level? It might seem, if you haven't done that kind of organizing, it might seem almost impossible. Well, it's based on a framework that I developed for how kids move from non-readers to readers that we call the Streamline Pathway. You may have seen it before, so let me show it to you. If I can click into it. Give me some time here to get that. This is going to be the Streamline Pathway, and this is how you know what? I'm having trouble because of my light. Let's try this again, guys. Sorry. Okay. Current application. How about that? Can you see that Streamline Pathway? Yep. Let me know if you can see that Streamline Pathway. It's showing in my feed, Joe. Thank you. Very helpful. Very, very helpful. Okay, so the reason that you can meet kids' needs but still use the same center is that you can think about how their reading develops according to this streamlined pathway. So one group, let's say hypothetically, let's say this group right here, they are working at level 1 on the streamlined pathway, and their main focus is short A and short I. So they would be doing activities, the same activity, but with short A and short I words or text. Whereas, say, another group, say group 2 is working at level 3, and they're focusing on short U, and that means they would have been exposed to O, E, A, and I, so they're getting all of that. Same activity, but different words. Another group, say group 3, is here on the Streamlined Pathway at level 5. That is the long O sound and all of its spellings. So those kiddos would be doing an activity, could be the same as what the kids below are doing, and yet they're using long O words. So all you do with an activity then is create one activity with multiple words, little bundles. You can arrange them in any cute way, and one group knows they go to A and I, and another group knows they go to long O, but they do the same activity. Okay? Is that making some sense? Give me some thumbs up if that is making some sense. How are you already doing that? Sometimes this is, in some communities, this is kind of how people have been taught and have adapted to differentiation. But in other places, it is still kind of, it can blow your mind. So let me know if that is something that you are doing already. Are you grouping kids and getting them one activity with multiple levels? I'd love to hear from you. Okay, what about some examples? Let's talk about some gains, okay? Switch It, as you know, is one of the most important activities that we teach here at Reading Simplified. And Switch It teaches letter sound knowledge, it teaches phonemic manipulation, phonemic segmentation, it's decoding, it's spelling. It is a lot packed into one activity. And usually we do it with a small group with the teacher, but you can also send kids off to do it on their own. What if they want to make word chains? Okay, so you could have a center, say, on Tuesday. It could be every Tuesday for several weeks. Do word chains, but just give kids different levels of words depending on where they are as a group. So, say we were talking about group 1 again. They're at that level 1. They are going to get a chain to build. They'll have to do the hard work themselves, figure out how these scrambled all go together to change one at a time. And they would build, say, fat to fit to sit to sat. And then they need to add, keep adding to it bat and bit. Okay? So everybody does word chains. They know how to do word chains. That's what you're going to do, say, every Tuesday. But one group is doing, group 1, they're doing on our Streamlined Pathway, they're doing level 1. And now another group is further down the line. Their progression of phonemic difficulty is more advanced. So they might have a list of words like this: lump, clump, clamp. So that's actually really advanced. These are my leaders because they can do something like clamp, which is CCV, 5 sound words. So you give them these cards, these strips, scrambled, and they try to figure out how to do this. One tip for that is if you are working with them at this level in small group where you're guiding them, when you send them out to do independent work, you might want to make it slightly easier. So if your students can do 4 sound words with you, but they need your help and they can't do 5, then you might want to give them CVC to do independent. Does that make sense? So you remember when you're doing guided reading, you are there and you want to keep the challenge high. But when you're sending them off to be independent, you aren't doing guided reading. You're not there to give them the support. So you might need to ratchet down the difficulty. So I have here an example of kind of the continuum of phonemic development. So CVC, and then CVCC, last, list, lint, and then the harder one would be lump to clump to clamp. So that's one way. It's one center. I know for maybe several weeks I'm always going to do the same thing on a Tuesday. And I just changed the words. Now this one, it does involve some production because you have to cut these strips out. But maybe you print this out and copy it over and over again and let the kids cut it out. So that's the word change. Another one that we've talked about before here is a Candyland variation. How many of you guys have a board like this? Even if you don't, you can just make one that's somewhat similar. It's just Candyland is simply lots of colored squares. And so typically with Candyland, you draw a card, right? And it has either one or two colors, and you advance on the board either one color, or two colors. But you can change that game and zero in on advanced phonics or even short vowels. Let me show you what I'm talking about here with the Streamline Pathway again. Just a second. Got to figure this out. Okay, we're showing it. Are we showing it? It's hard for me to see what you see. So, with the Streamline Pathway, say again we have maybe group 3 is at level 5. So they might want to play Candyland with the O sound deck. And remember, I always encourage you to do all the spellings of a given target sound at one time, and that's how Sort It works, one of our key activities. And then also to integrate high frequency words. So that's how I've designed these Candyland games, and you can do the same. This one is grow and road. So it's got 2 spellings of the O sound and 2 high frequency O sound words. So the student would have to read the words, and then they would get to advance 2 yellow spaces on the Candyland board. Or if they got this one, that would be a different spelling, hold, and they would advance just 1 color, blue. So maybe Wednesday is a day for board games, and some kids are going to go and pick out the long O card deck. They still play the same game. You've taught them the drill for how to do the game, but they're getting words at their level. Whereas maybe another group is slightly further along. Maybe our group 4 is here on the Streamline Pathway at level 6. Then they might do the E sound. Let me show you. Again, with multiple spellings. Here's the E in year and the E in near, both of them the same spelling. Here's the E in being, and we've got began, and we've got the E in each. So different spellings, different high frequency words, but still the same old activity. How does this sound to you? Would that make your instruction easier? Easier to plan? And would your kids be more likely to stick to the task if they were doing something that was just slightly above where they were able to work without this? So some kids on the Streamlined Pathway, they know all their short vowels. And if they have to go to an activity and do one more short vowel thing, they may just flip out. But when they get exposed to, oh, what's this thing called advanced phonics and all these funky spellings? I don't think I know that. And I'm going to have to work a little bit, not too much, because you don't want to, again, it's independent. You don't want to create too much of a struggle. Okay, so those are 2 games. We've got the chains. We've got take a board game. I have made some cards for Candyland. I've made some cards for Chutes and Ladders, a variation on Chutes and Ladders. You may have also seen me teach a game called Steal It. All 3 of those games, you can create different levels. Steal it with the O sound, steal it with the E sound, steal it with the A sound. So maybe Thursday is Steal It Day. And everybody's going to go play that game. And yeah, it's a game, and so you think, well, maybe it's instructionally less valid. Well, no, because they are going to be focused on high-frequency spellings of the target sound that matches their current need, what they're getting in guided reading with you, and they're also going to be learning high-frequency sight words. Melody says, love the Candyland idea. Great. These are things that I give away as bonuses when people join the Reading Simplified Academy through a workshop that I'm giving. So if you haven't been invited or attended our workshop called 3 Activities a Day to Keep Reading Difficulties Away, you're more than welcome to join. There is a link at the top of my website, readingsimplified.com, to sign up for that workshop. And again, I give away some freebies like this. I give 1 freebie away for Steal It if you just come, and 1 freebie for Sort It. But then if you join the Reading Simplified Academy there, you get a host of these activities. Switch It, Candyland, Chutes and Ladders, and so forth. Now, this next one is really fun. It does take a little bit more prep, and you might be worried that you're going to lose some of this stuff, but on the other hand, the thrill of this activity may be worth the effort. So I would consider getting little boxes with objects and doing basically word object matching. Okay, so this is a box of a student who would be at level 4 of the Streamlined Pathway. They've been exposed to all the short vowels, and they're also working on their consonant digraphs. So they would take out a card and read it. Notice the consonant digraph is colored one color because it's different, because it's one sound. And then their job would be to read it and then find the match. And kids love little tiny objects like this, don't they? Yes, it's risky. You could lose them, but if you prep them right, I don't think you'll lose too many if you go through the process of how we're going to do this activity. So they might get the word egg and then read it and have to match it. They might get the word rock. Let's see if I can find my rock. How many of you have done object picture matching? Isn't it fun for kids? You could do fish and match it with a little fish. So I just kind of found little knickknacks that my kids had thrown out, or you could do the word frog. That's 4 sounds. That might be in the wrong box. So have a box for maybe the short A and I, level 1, a separate box for level 2, O and E, but maybe it would also review level 1 because that's how we build knowledge with the Reading Simplified Streamlined Pathway. A box for the O sound. They could find a picture of a goat. They could find a picture of a boat. They could find a picture of snow. Okay, so does that sound good? Would you guys like to do picture word or object word matching? Katie says yes, and you use picture matching. Yeah, that's another idea. There's a lot of these opportunities on the internet. I found this free at a Montessori site, so I haven't cut it up, but just you can imagine that they need to read the word and then they need to find the picture that matches it. Pot, top. And then this one is all short O, but I would encourage you to map onto the Streamlined Pathway and do multiple sounds once they're at level 2. So if they were learning the short O, then you would also have some short A and short I folded in because they've already been exposed to that. You want to keep exposing them to that. Joe says you like it. Okay, great. And Katie says if you can, I've got something in my way, Katie. So let me move the screen because I just can't see your comments. Here we go. If I can upload a picture to this. Not sure what you mean, Katie, sorry. But somehow this seems like it's intriguing. Okay, so there are, those are some centers that are particularly targeted for decoding where you can meet kids at different levels. Another simple center that I would be using very regularly would simply be rereading. And they take the text that you've read with them during guided reading or small group reading instruction, and then they reread it as a group. So one group is reading a level 1 passage like that cat is mad, because it's got the short A sound, and another group This group is reading an O sound passage and rereading it like Soap Boat from Starfall. So that's a very simple, again, maybe every day you have a rereading center like that. That's what I'd recommend because they need to get lots of exposure to these words. But they're reading at that center different materials, so you're getting better instructional match. Okay, Curleen says thumbs up. Thank you. And Genevieve, I'm so glad you love all these ideas. Please do let me know how it goes. And Katie says, oh, fun. I would love to see that picture. So yeah, you mapped on bottle caps and you used bottle caps and plastic painting palettes. That sounds really fun. Was that like to teach letter sounds, or was that reading words? So that's neat. If you have other suggestions, I'd love to have them here in the comments because I know this whole community could really be excited by that. But my main take home for you today is create a few centers that you can use over and over again, but they're not going to get bored because one week they're learning the E sound, and the next week they're learning the, I picked up the wrong one. They're learning the O sound, and next week they're learning the E sound. And then maybe the next week you combine them, and they're doing E and O as a review. And then the third week they're doing the A sound, going straight up the continuum of the Streamlined Pathway. Here's another one. Okay, so many of you may have seen me teach the activity Sorted. It's an activity where it's on a worksheet where kids read many spellings of one target advanced phonics sound, like the O sound. They have a list of words that are all O sound words, but then they sort them by the spelling. The O in boat, the O in go, the O in snow, and so forth. So you can then, what I often do is get them started on the activity, because once they get started on it, they learn how the lay of the land, they learn a little bit about those spellings, and then they can actually do a lot of it independently. So then they could finish that worksheet, and that could be a different center. But again, to differentiate it really simply with the Streamlined Pathway, some kids will be working with the O sound, and some kids will be working with the E sound. Let's see if I can show this to you. Here we go. I think, can you see the sorted page? Give me a thumbs up if you can see this sorted page. So here's an example. Woo. Sorry, I'm just poking around trying to figure out how to show. Okay, here we go. Here's the sorted for the O sound. And so when the kids are at that beginning first grade level, they could read these words. The O in go, the O in show, the O in road. Notice that, okay, Joe, thank you. I'm glad you can see it. Melody, great. That's very helpful. The O in road. And so you get them started with small groups, and then they go and finish this worksheet. And so notice that these are all single syllable words, mostly high frequency in the top 100 to 300 words, so they're not, really advanced. And notice, if you haven't seen this before, the sorted activity, this is, there's a key sentence, go home to show the boat to Joe. So that's like a mnemonic, a mental hook to help them remember what these spellings are for O and how to sort them. So they see this page over and over again, but with new words. So maybe on Monday they do sort it with these words, and then that same group does on Wednesday, say, they do another sorted page with the O sound, but with different words. So they're getting more exposure to more O sound words. Again, high frequency, because that's how we've designed it in the Reading Simplified Academy. But then maybe another group is beyond O. They're at the next step on the Streamlined Pathway. They get the E sound worksheet in the small group with you. They did E on Monday. You say, okay, go finish that at the sorted station and do the E sound. And these are both, the ones that I've just shown you so far, are both first grade. But maybe you have kids who need some reinforcement of their phonics, but their reading is a little higher than first grade. So you can make materials like I have for the inside the Reading Simplified Academy that are differentiated even further. This is a list for a person further down the continuum as a reader, maybe early 4th grade or late 3rd grade. This would be a pretty easy beginning for them of the E sound. Notice there's some multi-syllable words in there like 15 and remind. And these are high frequency words that are further down, like probably in the 2000s or 3000s, because by the time they're in 4th grade, they need to know the top 4,000 most frequent words, because that's what good readers who are 4th grade readers know, just like this. So all these sorted pages include that. So again, one activity, sort it, one center. I don't have to create the wheel. I'm over and over again, maybe every Tuesday, or let's pick a Thursday. I think we haven't filled that day. Every Thursday, I'm going to be doing a sorted center as part of my decoding. Some are going to be doing O with the 1st grade level. Some are going to be doing E at the 1st grade level. And my more advanced groups, maybe they are doing E, but at the 4th grade level. Or maybe another group's doing it at the 2nd grade level. So that's my take home for you today. Create centers that have multiple levels and only change the words or the text. And then you can still meet kids' needs without staying up till Sunday at midnight and working yourself to the bone. Does that sound good, you guys? You are already, I know because you're here and you're working overtime to learn some new ideas, you already work plenty. You don't need to work more. I'm just trying to find a way to share tips for helping you to work smarter so that you aren't stressed out, you can be the best teacher that you can be, and at the same time you're meeting your kids' needs. Now sometimes we need to take a break, and so we just, maybe we turn on a movie, or maybe we give the kids a coloring sheet or a word find where the educational value is somewhat minimal. But we can kind of do the best of both worlds here. We can meet kids' needs. Play a game. They're going to be engaged when they're playing a game. Now, we might have to break up occasional disagreement, but the engagement's going to go up if they're playing a game and they're learning words that they've been working on in guided reading with you, and they don't quite know them, but they're close to knowing them. So that's my take home for week 3 to help keep the rest of the class running smoothly but not have you working overtime is create constant centers that kind of stay fixed, but the levels of the words and text change. Okay? If you think that this is useful, I would love for you to put in some hearts or some likes. What do you think? Is that worth talking about? What do you guys think? I see some thumbs up here. Yes. Curleen says, lovely ideas. Thank you. And another thing that you might want to do is tag a friend. Do you have a friend that is working herself to the bone or maybe wanting to get towards differentiation but hasn't been able to figure it out yet? This video may give her some ideas. The activities that I talked about, if you're not part of my Reading Simplified Academy membership, you may not have, although you're welcome to join because it will really transform your teaching and improve your kids' reading, I bet. But even if you're not, take what you have and just change the level of the words to fit kids' needs. And I encourage you to think about that Streamlined Pathway as a way to think about kids' development. Instead of thinking this child is a level D, this child is a level E, this child is a level G, which doesn't really tell you what their next instructional need is. Think about them, their development as readers in terms of their decoding skills. And that's what we talked about last week, about looking at the 3 measures that really matter for early reading or for anyone who's struggling. All right, Krista, Katie, Tweena, I think it's Tweena. I forgot, sweetheart. I'm sorry. And Joe, thank you for the hearts. Okay, that is it for week 3. Next week, we're going to talk about my top 6 centers that I'd recommend that I would have going all the time. Some things would come and go. For, Black History Month, there might be one thing. For if you're doing a science project, you might bring in some other kind of science literacy integration. But some things would be constant that would that move the needle the most. And those 6 centers I'm going to share with you next week. So tag that friend. Check out the posts above if you haven't. Okay. Thanks for being here. Adios.